Kisara, background 1. Kisara served as Raja Aid. She also Locke's wife and Lun's mother. Still beautiful even now, but when she was young, word of her beauty spread even outside of Rawfleet. When she decided to marry Locke, the man of Rawfleet was just about ready to kill him. Find out how their romance began. Well, it's a really nice story, but I was asked to keep it a secret. They haven't even told Lun, apparently, so I guess I really better not tell you. Sorry. Kyle, background 1. Well, needless to say, Kyle is the Queen's Knight. People talk he sided with the Barrow faction, but that was just a rumor. Back at the Sun Palace, he'll play a crucial role in your escape. But you know that better than I do, of course. When he was in Lackler, Folga also looked after him. Even as a kid, he hit on every girl in sight. Whenever he wasn't pummeling his sparring partner. Even for Folga, that kid must have been a handful. About 10 years ago, he had some trouble in Lackler, packed his bag and laughed. During the Armor's invasion, he became a volunteer soldier and fought like mad. His performance caught Spirit's eyes, and that led him to what he is today. Lance, background 1. Lance is Root Dragon Horse. The two of them are alike in every way, well, at least according to Rahal. I wonder what he meant specifically. When he was younger, he had such a violent temper, there was nobody be able to ride him. Even now, if someone tries to ride him when Rook's not around, he flips out and goes completely wild. He's a big eater, but a picky one too. He's only eat fresh, fat fish. That's the only point he and Rook differ on, Rahal said. I wonder what he meant by that. Lele, background 1. Lele used to be a god in a Gothic prison, but she fell for Lucretia she was concerned about Lucretia, so she came with her. Now she's kind of Lucretia's assistant. As a female prison guard, she was assigned to watch Lucretia. Maybe that's why she was the first one to go over to Lucretia's side. Ever since then, Lucretia has been teaching her military strategy, I guess. She stands so tall that all the girls admire her, but actually she wishes she were a little shorter. When she's by herself, she stoops. Levi. Background 1. Levi is calling himself a rune magic scholar and doesn't like to be called a sorcerer or a wizard. Me being a layperson, I don't see the difference. One time I saw him talking to that serpentine stuff of his. Is that normal part of his research? It seemed incredibly interested in Zeras and Jin. Not that kind of interest, mind you. It's all about his research, so he says. Linfa, background 1. Linfa said on the record, I'd rather gamble than eat. But she's terrible at hiding her emotion, so she's not a very good gambler. What are we going to do with her? Get away from her gambling dabs. She's not only cheat, but even break out the old feminine wiles. She slipped past plenty of guys that way, and not just a hesitancy anymore. What this mean? She slipped past plenty of guys that way, and not just hesitancy. Well, this really hasn't cheated people out of that much money. When you get right down to it, she's not quite a bad girl yet. And she gave Baker money, right? Well, background 1. Locke is roughly Jack of all traders. He Kisara's husband and Lun's father. All he won Kisara had is one of Rawfleet's 7 wonder. As in, mysteries beyond all comprehension. There was no signs that they were even going out, and then all of a sudden, they announced their engagement. I'll probably told you that back when he was young, he and Gunde used to smuggle fugitive. I hear he did the same for gladiators, although Baku doesn't seem to have been one of them. Lorelei, background 1. Lorelei is a gorgeous girl, if I do say so. Devoted to pursuing the Cinder civilization mysteries, but she's quite a mystery herself. On one of her expeditions, she wound up trapped in the Deep Twilight Forest ruins with Killy. She won't say how they got out, but I hear her mumble something about Fiki. But Fiki? Well, Fiki sounds clueless about it. I've seen Gavaya following Lorelai, Hazuki, and Norma around. They're all very pretty girls, so I guess I can understand how he feels, but still. Liu, background 1. Liu's a quirky kid who likes mechanical gizmos. She's not so much interested in what they do or how they're built. She just likes the way they're shaped and the way they move. Kids like toys, I guess. Guess she's forgotten all about that time she called you apprentice number 2. Not a care in the world, that girl. You know that revolving crossbow she's got? Babegi designs it and Sorensen put it together. Not sure, but there may be a mechanism in there to link the crossbow with her other equipment somehow. Lucretia, background 1. Lucretia was loud god with tactician, but she got in the way of his ambition, and he and his family locked her up. Later this great prince come along and rescue her, and she become his tactician. That's about the gist of it. The Godwin originally found her on a trip to the northern continent and came back with her. At first people called her his mistress, but after all she did during the Armas invasion, no one ever badmouthed her again. She always carries this unusual necklace with braided cord and gems, but I never seen her wear it. It looks like it might have come from a grassland clan way up to the north. Lun, background 1. Lun is locked in Kisara daughter. She used to help her father in his jack-of-all-trades works. She always has so much energy and not enough to deal with it. She really respects her mother and hope to be like her one day. The way she's going though, she may well turn out like her father instead, but that's just part of her charm. She's growing more and more every day. Pretty soon she's gonna catch up with her mother, if you know what I mean. Hey, nothing but a straight fact, right? This Arena, background 1. She's Lord Barrow's daughter, but she's got none of her father's black-heartedness or her brother incompetence. Believe it or not, she's a genuinely good person, competent too. There's something our soldiers came across. Lord Barrow planned for you and Lucerina to marry. Of course, you probably already knew that. It took some digging, but I found a flaw in her character. She doesn't get the concept of art. It doesn't matter what she's looking at any painting, any sculpture, she has no idea if it's good or bad. Blame her dad for that one. Leon, background 1. You know Leon better than I do, but here goes. Fairy took her in 8 years ago, and she displayed remarkable skill with a blade. She was then chosen to become both the Queen's Knight apprentice and Your Highness bodyguard. Actually, if you want to know, Fairy 1 asked me to find her real parents. I checked everywhere, but nothing. Leon's probably better off not knowing about that though. Remember Leon when she used to be in Nethergate? As striking as her skill were, what's stick in my memory mostly is the color of her eyes. You know what I mean, right? Marina, background 1. She's a very energetic young lady with a job at the inn over in Stormfist. I guess a lot happened during the second game, but she's too cheerful to let bad times bring her down. Her parents died when she was little, and the couple at the inn took her in as their own. She's very expressive with her emotions. Every time she sees Hazuki taking along with Belkut, she frowns with jealousy. Kids, they don't know how good it is to be so young. Marun, background 1. Marun is the young leader of the Beaver, in practice, if not in name. He's also Fualu, right-hand man, and he's also the oldest out of the 5 siblings. By Beaver standards, he's already a young man, but his actual age isn't all that different from Puma's. Let me guess what you're thinking. Okay, let's explain it then. Well, he's been Hoswar's favorite. He posed and insisted he's too old to be called cute, but Hoswar is oblivious. Matthias is a Zabel's slave, assistant. They came together all the way from the northern continent, but they have no trouble fitting in around here. You or I might think his commitment to Zabel's a little extreme, but he called it his sole reason for being. Go figure. When Matthias, Dean, and Rahal were training in the dojo, the huge crowd of women came to watch and cast a stare. Mirun. Background 1. Mirun is the fourth sibling of the five. She makes that mysterious beaver sound. No! What do you mean? Beaver don't make that sound. Even after all that other beavers shot themselves in the lodge, she came out to raffle it all by herself. I guess she just loved having fun, no matter what else is going on. For some reason, she's the only one Moro never ever tries to cross. Miyaki's. Background 1. Miyaki's a queen's knight and a princess bodyguard. Well, not just a bodyguard, it's much closer than that by all count, but I guess you would know more about all that I do. She's the kind of person who could get along with just about anybody, but I hear Lenia couldn't stand her. I guess it was some kind of instinctual thing. Father was a dragon cavalry soldier. When his daughter becomes a queen's knight, he retired, and he and his wife begin a leisurely trip around the world. Even Miyaki doesn't know where they're traveling right now. Miron. Background 1. Miron is the second beaver sibling of the five. She loves bath and work at the hot spring inn over in Yasuna village. Apparently beaver consider her a peerless beauty. I'll take their word for it. When Gavaya tried to peek into the woman's bath, I hear she bent him to the infirmary with a single blow. I hesitate to say this, but I think this might actually be super strong. Lawson. Background 1. Lawson's a merchant. He used to run a huge armor shop in Lackler. He was one of the Godwin faction's biggest supporter, right up until his shop got torched. I suppose it'd be smart business for any armorer to support Lord Godwin, but Lawson didn't care about the money. He genuinely believed in Lord Godwin's cause. That betrayal must have cut him to the bone. He often goes around asking warriors how comfortable their armor is, or if they have any requests. Then he used their answer to help save his marketing strategies. The man loves his work, doesn't he? Moran. Background. Moran is the youngest beaver sibling of the five. He used to live as a lone wanderer. Hated both beaver and human, he said, but he let his sibling talk him into coming here. 2 years ago, when the beaver were forced to build Hatted Fortress, Moran was just a little kid. He must have hated every second of it. He carried something that looks like some kind of foreign string instrument, but really it's just a wooden board and stick put together to make a mallet. Mueller. Background 1. Mueller is Wilhelm's first officer in the Lindwurm Missionary Brigade. Wilhelm has a laid-back approach to command, so it's unfamiliar to keep things moving. They call him a tyrant. He called men useless for slacking off, curse them out, hit them with a rod, and scare them senseless. But other than that, he's pretty reasonable, so his troops don't hate him apparently. Richard is extremely attached to him, but Muller won't tell me anything about why. In fact, when I pestered him about it, he threatened me with that metal rod of his. Can't you believe it? Lord. There's no better expert than medicine. He proved that at the second games, and again when Ferret asked him to prepare that dark arcanum antidote. He and Silva studied medicine under the same teacher, who taught them all about humanitarian principle apparently. After the uprising 2 years ago, he packed for Lord Lake too, but when he heard Silva was already there, he changed his mind. Lord Greg wasn't the only place that needed a doctor, he said. Moron. Background 1. Moron is Fualu's assistant. All beaver are good at digging and building, but he's especially gifted. He's the middle sibling of the five. Even though he's the third sibling, he looks older than Maroon, who's the oldest. That seems to worry him. Mostly he's the only beaver who can actually read Miron's facial expression. Nakula. Background 1. Nakula used to be a lancer of the Armored Sultan Mountain Corps under General Jidan Gushu. But after getting injured, he stayed behind in Sable, and you know all about the rest, Your Highness. His family had a lot of prestige in the Daja clan, one of the 5 major clans of Armas, but his father, the head of the family, advocated drastic measures against Falena and got killed by Nethergate. Nakula has a twin brother back in his home country, but they haven't seen him. It but they haven't seen each other for a long time. It seems his brother thinks the life he's leading now is more important than avenging his brother. Okay, for the next, I'm using Suikoden.com information or investigation. Nelly's Investigation 1. Nell is a Silent Nation Federation soldier, just like you are. She's been assigned the special duty of finding and gathering up shells for the rune cannon. Yor calls his work just a cushy job, but Nell is on the other hand especially fondler for the assignment. Apparently, someone in her family helped invest the rune cannon 150 years ago, and the family passed on the guild its ancient history, and she has nothing to do with it, but I guess she's the type who has a hard time letting go. Hey, the boy's been training hard in Gordius to become a dragon cavalry soldier. He's not officially there yet, but he and I are already like partners. He's the best swordsmanship in class and he's riding top notch. But at playing the flute, he's just hopeless. You say it's because he can't sing, but you don't have to be a good singer to play the instrument. Investigation 3. Once, when Roy, Richard, and Nick were talking, they saw Nipsara staring at them with a big smile on her face. 3 pretty boys at once. She must have been overwhelmed. Nipsara, Investigation 1 or Background 1. She and Samista and Sula, bodyguard in the arm. She and Samista are Sula's bodyguard in the Army's Western Marine Corps. Nipsara, an expert in armor special weapon, the long spear. Background 2. I heard Nipsara become Sula's bodyguard because he's such a handsome boy, if you can call him that. He's older than she is. She always liked that sort of guy. Hey, at least he knows what she wants, eh? Investigation 3. One of Armor's better known tactics is a group spearmanship, carried out by teams of 3 spearmen. Nipsara been trained for it, I'm sure. Nikea. You think Investigation 1, you think of most martial artists as serious folk, but Nikki is just a bright and bubbly all the time. She tried to sign up for the Sacred Games, apparently thinking it was just another martial art competition. Investigation 2. She frequents martial art competition across various countries, wreaking havoc wherever she goes. Guess she's good at what she does, if she can live off the prize money like that. Investigation 3. She's a real pig, not to say that she's ugly or has a snout or anything, but have you seen that girl eat? Forget martial art, she could make twice the money in eating contests. Northern. Northern was Investigation 1. Northern was vice captain of the Barrow's garrison. After the Lock Lake uprising, he resigned and started drinking, but we persuaded him to tell the real story. Investigation 2. Urim was technically Northern's superior, but Northern was the real man in charge. Still, whenever Urim spot order, usually on a whim, Northern couldn't against him. That's how the trouble started. Investigation 3. Did you hear his wife left him? We actually went out and found her. Apparently, she's had no idea why Northern started drinking. We told her everything. Probably overstepped our bounds a bit in the process. But hey! Norma. At first glance, Norma looks like any other wandering entertainer accompanied by a wild beast. You never know, she's out to find a wizard who can break the curse on her childhood friend. She said they came from across the Western Sea. Investigation 2. She became an entertainer because that was the only way she and hers could travel without arousing suspicion. She says the whole gig's embarrassing, but she actually looks like she's enjoying herself to me. Investigation 3. Her hobby is making sweet. She wasn't always very good at it, but she learned for Ernest's sake to give him something good to eat on those full moon's night. Heartwarming, eh? Oboro. Investigation 1. Oboro is an excellent detective. Swift investigation, privacy guaranteed, nothing but a straight fake. His hobby is making business cards. Is that good enough? This is kind of embarrassing. Investigation 2. You know my assistant, Mr. Mouse? Well, actually, there's more than one of them. Eh? How I train them? Well, there are some secrets I'm sworn to protect. Investigation 3. I grew up in Nethergate, the intelligence division, specifically, so I had a lot of opportunities to get to know the outside world. It gave me a lot to think about. Orog, Investigation 1. Orog's an influential man, especially in Lackler. He controlled the Western Islet. His men look intimidating, but just like Orog himself, they are pretty good guys. Investigation 2. The mansion used to belong to Lord De Beers. When De Beers was about to flee, Orog persuaded him to loan it out. Investigation 3. He says he's against the Godwin right now on account on their hypocrisy, but his core beliefs haven't changed. That's probably why he'll argue with Folga so much. Rahal. Investigation 1. Rahal's niece and the Dragon Cavalry proud of him. Commander Craig Glidden considered him his best advisor. The way he and Flail move on the battlefield, like the two of them together, are one spirit. Sorry about that. No one can top that. Investigation 2. The Dragon's Cavalry female fans have him pegged as the most popular. Rook's the runner-up, but the two of them are usually together, so they make things easy on all their admirers. Investigation 3. When he was a kid, he and his older sister used to play all kind of prank, where they switch clothes and pretend to be each other. No wonder he doesn't mind disguising himself as a woman now. Raja. Investigation 1. Raja is an elderly lady and the leader of Ra Fleet. Everybody calls her Admiral because she was the commander of the Royal Navy until a few years ago. Investigation 2. She joined the Navy when she was still just a girl. She quickly rose through the rank, and before long, they started calling her Hurricanes Raja. Back then, people from Ra Fleet were looked down upon, but that didn't bother her at all. Investigation 3. The Queen before last, the great-grandmother, appointed her commanders of the Royal Navy. Soon after, Ra Fleet was granted autonomy. If it weren't for Raja, Ra Fleet probably wouldn't be what it is today. Rania. Investigation 1. Rania is Rahal's older sister. She's a craftswoman, especially in those flutes the Dragon Cavalry use. Her flutes are so popular with both soldier and dragon horses that she has ordered pile up for use in advance. Investigation 2. A cavalry soldier's flute has to be able to make sounds that only dragon horse can hear, so they're hard to make. But apparently Rania can hear those sounds too, and they say that's why her flutes work so well. Investigation 3. Rania can hear lots of things regular humans can't, including dragon horse voices. Maybe that's why she seems so eccentric. None of us are equipped to understand what she's talking about. Raven. Investigation 1. Raven's what we call a phantom thief. Midnight Raven is our nickname for him, whether he likes it or not. Investigation 2. His Raven rune let him hide in darkness. He never used it for anything other than larceny, but I guess it might come in handy if he were, say, exploring a cave. Investigation 3. Now PT client has us capture Raven one time, but then refused to pay us what he promises. So when he handed Raven over, we didn't mention his Raven rune, and thanks to that, he busted out easily. You think he'd be grateful? Retso. Retso. Investigation 1. Retso is a chap from the east. His wife passed away several years ago, and ever since then he and his daughter Shunmin have been traveling around studying the culinary arts. Investigation 2. His specialty is fish, especially sashimi. His knife handling and presentation are sheer works of art, and I look into these things personally just to be sure. Check your bill for the expense. Investigation 3. He came to this castle to try and unravel the mysteries of his teacher D's mythical fish sashimi. He said something about making some progress, that the secret might not have anything to do with the mythical fish after all. Richard. Investigation 1. Richard is one of the big shot in Wilhelm's unit of the Lindworm Mercenary Brigade. He's the best of the best when it comes to the sword. They even call him the Blade Master, but he's so easygoing you never know it. Investigation 2. They had him join the second game because Muller told him to. As a joke, Beck could say he's not sure he could have won if he had to face Richard. Investigation 3. No matter how many times I ask him, he won't tell me why he's so crazy about Muller, or how it all got started. Anything else is blab about forever, but he just won't talk about Muller. Must be extra personal, whatever it is. Rook. Investigation 1. Rook's a very swordsman, quick as a whirlwind, strong as the storm sea. He's head of the assault squad, the Dragon Cavalry Vanguard. When he and Lance go checking out together, they are unstoppable. Investigation 2. Every Dragon Cavalry trainee in Gordia see him as a big brother figure. According to Rahal though, that's because Rook and the trainer are mentally about the same age. Investigation 3. Long ago, he tussled with Lance, who never let humans near him, an entire day to prove himself a worthy partner.